I came out as a lieutenant colonel from the army. Passive income is about 1.5 to 6. 60% of our passive income is good enough for us to lead the kind of life that we lead.
I'm from the second batch of lady officers, so I got commissioned in 93 August.
The first 5 years of married life, I think we really didn't save anything except for the Provident Fund.
When did you actually make your first crore?
2006-7. Our current net worth, including our primary residence, is about 10 to 11 CR.
It's a fantastic property, so beautiful.
I had it at the back of my mind that whenever I retire, I'd retire to a place where I have access to a golf course. My wish came true, so I've got golf for the rest of my life, and I've got abundant nature all around.
At the beginning of your career, an absolute start, how was your relationship with money at that point in time?
Yeah, I was posted in a field station in high altitude, sitting on the line of control in Kashmir.
Yeah.
So frankly speaking, money was of absolutely no consequence. Soap, toothpaste and toothbrush, I think we didn't require anything else.
Right.
Once I came out of the field station initially, obviously money was a requirement. My to-be wife and I had already met at that point in time, and we decided to get married. And I was of the firm view that whatever my savings should go into the expense of the wedding.
Right.
So whatever I had saved up in the field area and for the next few months, I put it into the wedding expense. So first 5 years of married life, I think we really didn't save anything except for the Provident Fund. In the last 3-4 years, my journey of investing in the stock market through equities and mutual funds has begun. The only regret is one should have started this very early in one's career. Key, I think, of leading a good life is learning to live within one's means. And of course, planning very well for the future years.
Nice shot, sir.
Thank you.
Right on line.
Yeah. Great shot.
Thank you, sir.
In fact, I consider not just finances as an investment, your regular workout
Right.
is an investment on health, and the game of golf is an investment for life itself.
Absolutely.
I started playing golf in the year 2000, Narangi military station in the outskirts of Guwahati. Fell in love with the game. It was like love at first stroke, literally. Our choice of settling down here in this place, Coorg Golf Links, is the main reason. In fact, I want to be within walking distance of a golf course. So I've got golf for the rest of my life, and I've got abundant nature all around.
So, sir, retiring early obviously is not an easy task. It requires a lot of serious planning and discipline. So, when did you first start getting serious about money and thinking about early retirement as an option?
See, in 2006, when I put in about 16 years of service, is when I bought the land next to this golf course in Coorg. At that point in time, there was a seed of an idea that I'd take early retirement with no concrete plan. We did the number crunching, my wife and I, and we decided that we'd be fairly comfortable with our passive sources of income to live in a place like Coorg. Obviously, the income required here is far lesser to lead a good quality of life. Sometimes there's more focus on our golf than on our finances.
The golf is troubling the finances, actually. Good looking putt, sir. Lovely. That's good.
Just missed the bird. Thank you. Tap it in.
Go for it, sir. Lovely par.
Thank you. Go for the birdie, Nishan.
Sure, sir.
That's a great putt.
Thank you, sir.
So this game, it kind of integrates so beautifully with one's life.
Right.
I think very early on, when I started playing golf, I fell in love with the game. And I had it at the back of my mind that I'd play this game through my life. And whenever I retire, I'd retire to a place where I have access to a golf course.
I think it's right behind here.
Yeah, I tell my friends I'm just a par 5 away from the golf course.
Absolutely.
So the boundary here is just about, say, 450 yards away from my house, or maybe 500.
Short par 5.
Short par 5, yeah.
So, sir, ma'am, obviously I've come to this property before as well. It's a fantastic property, so beautiful. How big is this property exactly?
It's 4 acres of land, out of which I said the built-up space is about 5,000 square feet, and taking the yard, the lawn, everything into consideration, and then we have a couple of ponds. 1 acre is taken away from the estate portion, 3 acres, the balance on which we have some coffee, pepper. I know that financial guys do not consider your primary residence as part of your net worth. Our biggest asset is what we live in.
Yeah,
It's
and
it's
also
more than
because we are
50%.
running the homestay and it is also giving us the additional
Yeah,
income.
so it's more than 50% of our net worth actually speaking this property. So to put a number to it based on the recent sales that's
Yeah.
happened in the current area, it's between 6 and 7 CR.
So, sir, we're talking about your savings journey, and I think it would be interesting to know if you can maybe throw some light on when you first started working, from your first salary, what were your expenses looking like? How did you manage that?
First salary in Toto was about 3,500 bucks per month, and at that point in time, our basic was 2,300.
Yeah,
And you know, we
2,300.
guys used to feel very happy because a beginner in the IAS, the Indian Administrative Service, which is the topmost of the
Right.
civil services, their basic was 2,200, and we got 100 bucks extra. We kind of felt happy and proud about it.
I'm from the second batch of lady officers, so I got commissioned in 93 August. I would take care of the expenses with my salary, and he would do the savings and investments because he was good in that.
On two officers' salaries, it was fairly comfortable. As a young couple, the child came quickly. We got married in 95 February. So our only daughter was born in April 96. So the first few years, I think till about the year 2000, one didn't really bother about any investments as such. We had something known as the Defense Service Officers Provident Fund, which was mandatory.
Okay.
We contributed to that whatever possible. In fact, more than what was mandated. One didn't know the difference between savings and investments at that stage.
If you could maybe let us know about how both of you met, what was the story there?
We met in a place called Jabalpur, where we have a course called Young Officers Course. He just walked up to me.
Things just fell in place in a few weeks of getting to know each other. By the end of the course, we decided that we'd get married. We were posted in Guwahati in this Narangi military station. We ate out a lot. I think that was a regular feature wherever we were posted. Normally, a young couple going out for dinner, you're carefree. But it was always there at the back of the mind. You never know what might come. One always carried a bag with a carbine in that.
Yeah, because it was a counter-insurgency operation area.
But we didn't let that interfere with our fun activities.
You decided to take early retirement from the army in 2011, I think you said.
2011 is when I actually came out of the army, but the decision was taken in 2009.
And so, what was the rationale or what was the thought process behind taking the decision of early retirement?
You see, we got married in 95 and till 2010, 16 years, and Pearl having had to quit the army force in 2003. In those 16 years of married life, we could only spend about 8 years together. And even in those 8 years when we spent together, there were courses of instruction that I was sent out on. So frankly, I think we spent only
so
about
there's a lot of,
6.5 years together in
you know,
those
a lot of separation
16
kind of a
years. So
thing.
there's a lot of separation. And we did the number crunching and said, even if we don't do anything else, we'd still be okay for the kind of lifestyle that we were used to.
How did you sort of plan your retirement corpus since the beginning?
So we looked at our monthly requirement of non-discretionary and discretionary spend. And at that point in time, the projected pension plus some amount of funds which we had in a company deposit, we knew that we were covered with no excess for luxuries, but a comfortable living, the kind of lifestyle that we were used to already in the army. I came out as a lieutenant colonel from the army. My pension's about 1 lakh, which is inflation linked. The DA goes up every 6 months, so automatically it goes up. So that takes care of the increase in the expense. We had company deposits at a company in Hyderabad, which was giving a very good rate of return at the time that I retired. About 16% was what they were giving. Currently, it's at 11%, but they pay like clockwork. Now, the interest income is about 25,000 post-tax. Before I retired, I'd started paying the installments for an apartment in Whitefield. Since then, that's been out on rent. The rental income is about 30 plus. All put together, about 1.5, 1.6 we are assured sitting at home. Our monthly expense is about 1 lakh. About 60% of our passive income is good enough for us to lead the kind of life that we lead.
So, sir, now coming back to, again, your savings journey, right? You weren't really savvy about finances at that point in time. So how has that savings journey changed over the years?
I subscribed to this magazine called Intelligent Investor or 2001. That's now known as Outlook Money. After going through that magazine, I then realized that for long term, this state savings in the government mandated system was not good enough. Equity was something which was quite away. I did buy a few shares just before the tech boom. Economic Times was the only newspaper, I think, which used to give the script value.
Right.
And even in a peace station like Dehradun, we used to get the newspaper, I think, one day later. And those days, there was no demat accounts which had come in. This was in 98, 99. We went through a broker, bought one script, and then the tech boom started, and then it went up 10 times or something. We thought we'd cracked it. And then the tech bust happened, and that went to almost zero, literally.
So, sir, when did you actually make your first crore?
Real estate, I don't know whether you'd consider that, although it's not very liquid. If you're considering that, 2006 7, our real estate was worth a couple of CR at that point in time.
Right.
And then the Lehman Brothers crash happened in 2008. So there was a lull in the real estate market for very many years until recently. But notwithstanding that, this rural property on which we are sitting currently has kind of gone up leaps and bounds. Our current net worth, including our primary residence, is about 10 to 11 CR. Then the apartment we have in Whitefield is about 1.5 CR. Then equity is about 1. Cash and debt instruments about half. Gold and jewelry, if you consider that, so that's about another CR. Although jewelry is again a sentimental thing, so never going to be liquidated, I think, at least in her lifetime. So maybe the daughter will do it. So totally, roughly around 10, 11.
If you could just maybe throw some light on what kind of properties you bought at what times, and then when did you decide to sell them? A sort of timeline of when you made those decisions.
2001, we picked up an apartment. We put up a little bit of the capital, and I think 80% was a loan from a bank.
And this was in Bangalore or?
In Bangalore. We sold the apartment in 2006 to buy this land. Then 2003, she came out of the army. There was a bit of fund which she was entitled to in terms of gratuity and stuff. Also, she had been bequeathed a property by her father, who was no more then. And from that proceeds and from our savings, we bought a plot of land in Eagleton, the golf village, in the outskirts of Bangalore, which we sold, in fact, a few months back. We were allotted Bangalore Development Authority plot, 2003. That gave a multi-bagger return in a space of about 5-6 years. In 2009, when we were building this house, we sold that, in fact. So that was almost a 10-bagger at that point of time, which was fantastic. Before I retired, I'd started paying the installments for an apartment in Whitefield. We took over the possession of that in 2014. Since then, that's been out on rent.
How much cost does it actually take monthly, annually, however you may know the figure, to maintain the property?
While building the house, we realized that it was a little too large for just the two of us. So we thought probably we could look at letting out maybe one odd room or the cottage which came with the property, We run it like a typical homestay, where we interact with our guests quite a bit. And it's mostly during the weekends. We try and stick to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, maybe those 2-3 days whenever it falls during that time.
The homestay has been generating approximately about $1 lakh a month. So how we look at it is the homestay takes care of the homestead expenditure. And the passive income that we have is meant for our discretionary spend.
In no time, we were, I think, ranked number 1 for almost 5 years at a stretch in Coorg. Yeah.
Obviously, there'll be questions from a lot of people who are seeing this in terms of if they want to move here today, what would be some costs around those?
While the land around the golf course is at a premium for obvious reasons, we got it at a fairly reasonable rate. An estate currently, if you're willing to go, say, about 5-6 kilometers away from the main road, you'd get it at about 30 to 40 lakhs an acre. But it's not as if you'd find ready-made land. You have to be lucky to find the size of the land that you're looking for. Young couples, when they come in, or even couples closer to our age group, almost 90% of them have a desire to do what we had done. Similar to what kind of questions you ask, they do ask us. Even if they're in a well-paid corporate job, there's always this thing about leading a retired life, and when you retire and how many more years you have after that, the number crunching has to be done. And I tell them that a good cash flow is very, very important. But at the same time, if you learn how to live within your means, or whatever your cash flow is, and you're willing to give up the big bucks that are possible in a city for a quiet life in a small town or a rural place like we've done, it has its own joys. But that also depends on the mindset.
And it also depends on what stage of your life you're in. If you have children who are still in younger classes and you want them to be in a city,
We came out when I was in my mid 40s and she was not even 40 yet.
Yeah, I was 37 when I actually moved to Coorg. Very early
So,
then.
so it's far easier
could
to
have-
take a call at that stage of life to a rural place like this because you still have the energy to face the challenges that are
Right,
thrown.
right.
You know, while it may all look very romantic, life on a farm in a nice big house, it has its own set of challenges. Some of the conveniences that you take for granted in a city are missing here. I grew up with this image of a retired life about reading a newspaper in the veranda. So that's a dead dream. You don't get the newspaper here because you're in the boondocks literally. If you have to go get a newspaper, you have to
You have to
drive
go to
out
the
to the
town.
town and get it. I don't know how much a newspaper costs, maybe $5-6 these days
Yeah.
or $10. So you're spending about 100 more than to get the newspaper.
So, in this fantastic journey you've had, and you have so many different stories to tell, any regrets you have in any different decisions you took in your life so far?
Regrets, nothing serious. But as per my newfound love for investment and all that, I wish I had started this journey earlier.
Right.
Because frankly speaking, had somebody guided us on that path, I think the same amount that we saved in the so-called safe government investments like Provident Fund or whatever,
Right.
I mean, it would have been multifold at this current stage. And my advice to youngsters of the current day would be that please start investing early in your careers, very early, as soon as you start working, set aside something. Back in the day when we were youngsters, looking at a safe, secure job was what was we were groomed about. But currently, there's so many more opportunities in India. So head along. India is in a great space, and it's up to the youngsters to take the country to the next level.
And so, one final thing, and you've talked about a financial advice which you would give in terms of starting to invest early. But any advice you have to any of our listeners for not only financial savviness but just life?
Financials are important, but not the only thing. As I always say, being a master of one's own time is a great thing. Being master of one's time means not being bound by anything that one doesn't want to do. Take my own example, for instance. I decided to settle down in a rural area knowing very well that although I came out in my mid-40s and I could have taken up a well-paying job in a city, I had certain things in my mind that I wanted to pursue, and one was my passion for golf, other was for nature and for my reading and stuff, and I'm comfortable. The standard of living can be lower, but the quality of life is higher when you choose these kind of things. I don't report to anybody, except probably the wife, so yeah, so that's that.
Thank you for watching and supporting our channel. If you like the stories we tell, here's your chance to be a part of it. If you or anybody you know has an interesting financial journey to share, then please fill the form in the pinned comment below and we'll get in touch with you.